Donald Trump, who promised the stars, the sun, everything for America's forgotten men and women, especially in the Rust Belt, he was very, very supportive of this FoxCONN deal in Wisconsin. And FoxCONN is basically, it's a Taiwanese company that Scott Walker, the now disgraced former, well, he was always disgraced, the former Wisconsin governor, thank God he's gone. He gave away the farm to FoxCONN to get him to Wisconsin. Huge tax breaks, subsidies, all the corporate welfare goodies you could imagine to get FoxCONN to open up a manufacturing plant in Wisconsin that was supposed to create tens of thousands of jobs, I believe. And it was supposed to be to create LCD panels for TVs. Well, apparently that's not going to happen. Apparently that's done. So, Foxconn Technology Group is reconsidering plans to make advanced liquid crystal display panels at a $10 billion Wisconsin campus, and said it intends to hire mostly engineers and researchers rather than the manufacturing workforce the project originally promised. Oh, when does it end? The corporate giveaways. Announced at a White House ceremony in 2017, the 20 million square foot campus marked the largest greenfield investment by a foreign-based company in U.S. history and was praised by President Donald Trump as proof of his ability to revive American manufacturing. This was very controversial in Wisconsin. The majority of the worker bees, particularly progressives, were not happy about basically Foxconn. Not only were they not going to have to pay taxes, they were almost going to get rebates and money on top of paying no taxes to come there. Foxconn, which received controversial state and local incentives for the project, initially planned to manufacture advanced large screen displays for TVs and other consumer and professional products at the facility, which is under construction. Later said it would build smaller LCD screens instead. Now those plans may be scaled back or even shelved. Luis Wu, special assistant to Foxconn Chief Executive Terry Gao, told Reuters. He said the company was still evaluating options for Wisconsin, but cited the steep cost of making advanced TV screens in the U.S., where labor expenses are comparatively high. Quote, "In terms of TV, we have no place in the U.S., he said in an interview. We can't compete. Translated, they can compete, they just can't pay unseemly amounts of money to their shareholders. They can compete, they can make money, just like GM could make money in the United States, just like Apple could make money in the United States, just like Walmart could make money in the United States. I could go on and on and on. It's the greed. It's not enough money for these fuckers. Excuse my French, Jen. When it comes to manufacturing advanced screens for TVs, he added, if a certain size of a display has more supply, whether from China or Japan or Taiwan, we have to change too. When he says supply, that means slave labor. That's what he's talking about. But, supply is a little bit more of a,
a nicer way.
Diplomatic term for, little boys making 10 cents an hour.
God.
I'm keeping it real. Rather than a focus on LCD manufacturing, Foxconn wants to create a technology hub in Wisconsin. Oh, a hub. We've heard this talk before. A hub, an innovation hub in Wisconsin that would largely consist of research facilities along with packaging and assembly operations. It would also produce specialized tech products for industrial, healthcare, and professional applications, he added. In Wisconsin, we're not building a factory. You can't use a factory to view our Wisconsin investment. Earlier this month, Foxconn, a major supplier to Apple, reiterated its intention to create 13,000 jobs in Wisconsin, but said it had slowed its pace of hiring. The company initially said it expected to employ about 5,200 people. By the end of 2020, a company said that figure now looks like it'll be closer to 1,000.
Jeez.
It is unclear when the full 13,000 workers will be hired. Probably when we're all dead.
Yes.
Probably when we're all dead. But Wu, in the interview, said about 3/4 of Foxconn's eventual jobs will be in research and development and design, what he described as knowledge positions, rather than blue-collar manufacturing jobs. Foxconn is formerly known as Han Hai Precision Industry. I don't have to read anymore. This is that old record spinning, just a different day. Same song, different day. Let me tell you something, folks. Let me tell you something. They are not going to hire 13,000 people, manufacturing people, or, more advanced professionals. this is a fleecing of the people of Wisconsin. Now, if you follow modern monetary theory, which I've been coming around to, it's not exactly the taxpayers who are, well, it is actually on the state level, it is the taxpayers who are paying for this. Because on the federal level, when it comes to MMT, the government does print money and the government has all the money to pay for these things. But on the state level, when you are sacrificing millions and millions of dollars in tax revenue to basically roll out the red carpet for FoxCONN to come to Wisconsin, well, you got to find that money somewhere. So what do? You cut subsidies for heating for old people. You cut subsidies for nutrition programs for poor children. You cut subsidies for farmers. You cut subsidies and tax credits and services for the working class of America, which Scott Walker, as governor of Wisconsin, who was a Koch brother robot, basically. Remember, Scott Walker was heavily funded by the Koch brothers. Basically, Donald Trump and Scott Walker just gave basically a tax-free giveaway to a Taiwanese company to come to Wisconsin for the expressed promise of 13,000 jobs to manufacture LCD TVs or glass or whatever it is for Apple products and TVs and all this stuff. And now it's being whittled down to maybe it'll be 1,000 workers by the end of 2020. And oh, those 13,000 workers we promised, yeah, we'll get back to you. You know, maybe we'll talk to Kamala Harris about that. You know, you got a private position and a public position. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
And I'm not just angry for the people of Wisconsin that have been suckered. I am angry because this keeps happening over and over and over again. Let me tell you something. If I promised the audience of Status Quo something, right? Mm-hmm. And I said to them, hey, if you pay X, you're going to get Y.
Right.
Right? And I didn't deliver. But I said, oh, change of plans. What would happen to me? What would happen to us?
We would get in lots and lots of trouble.
Probably lose our audience, probably lose our members, and go out of business.
Yes.
But FoxCONN, and by the way, new governor Tony Evers, who beat Scott Walker, he's saying, well, I have to fulfill the promises we made to FoxCONN for millions and millions in tax giveaways and subsidies, even though they're now moonwalking away from what they promised, just like Kamala Harris. Yeah. And if I wouldn't get a copyright strike, I'd be playing Michael Jackson moonwalking right now. I think, and you're not going to see this covered on CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times. They don't care. They don't care about the workers being screwed. But this is essentially giving free money to a Taiwanese company to basically con FoxCONN, con Wisconsin and con America. And Trump's behind it too. And this is why it is so obvious that Bernie Sanders is the best person to defeat Donald Trump. Because Bernie Sanders is the only person who has the credibility to say, hey, Donald Trump. Hey, President Trump. Hey, racist Donald Trump. Those factories you talked about? You know, I went on a little tour around Wisconsin. I went on a little tour around Indiana. I went on a little tour around Ohio, around Pennsylvania. They're still closed. So are the YMCAs around those factories. So are the storefronts that have been boarded up in these Rust Belt states since the 1980s and 90s. I thought you were bringing back these factories. I thought you were bringing back these towns. So I think Bernie Sanders is the only one who can contrast to Donald Trump. And Bernie Sanders speaks to the discord and the desperation and the economic insecurity of people in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Illinois and Indiana. So if only there was an actual populist, progressive candidate out there that could speak to this corporate con job, my book, Corporate Con Job, like FoxCONN. If only there was a progressive populist out there that could say, hey, instead of giving subsidies to FoxCONN and Walmart and Goldman Sachs and Apple and all these people who are not good corporate citizens, who are strangling the proletariat, who are stomping on the worker bee, who are the reason we have such incessant, horrific income inequality, we're going to actually put some regulations on them. How about that?
Yep.
This is why we need Bernie Sanders to run. This is why he needs to be in the debate. I'd like to hear this populist talk from Tulsi Gabbard. I do like that she offers a lot more of the foreign policy, but I want to hear more domestically from her that she is going to speak to this. Because FoxCONN is just one. It's not just FoxCONN. There's a FoxCONN in Indiana. Not literally, but there's companies like FoxCONN that are getting huge giveaways in Indiana. Remember the carrier plant that Donald Trump, quote unquote, saved? That they gave big giveaways to save that plant in Indiana, but then they just went to Mexico anyway. I mean, these corporations get away with murder. Why? Because they buy off Donald Trump. They buy off Nancy Pelosi. They buy off Chuck Schumer. They buy off Tom Perez. They buy off Kirsten Gillibrand, Cory Booker, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris.